1. I'm sure many people who've worked in retail at places like Lowe's, Menards, and Home Depot have had to deal with entitled customers who claim to just need something off the shelves, when there is a safety gate that's clearly blocking the aisles for a reason. It's only been maybe 30 minutes after we just opened, and I'm standing at checkout wearing full uniform, when a group of 5 men walk up to me and ask, "Hey, do you work here?" "Yes, how can I help you?" One of them points to the safety gate blocking an aisle my coworker was moving things around at. "Why is that aisle blocked off?" "Because my coworker is using heavy machinery to move things around. He should be almost done." "Well, we need to get something off the shelf." "I'm sorry, but you cannot go past the gate until he's done using the heavy machinery, because you and he could get hurt." The entitled customer storms off to the far side of the store, and I just assumed they had decided to go look for something else while waiting. Nope, I was wrong. Not 5 minutes after they disappeared out of my line of vision, I hear, "Hey, what are you doing? That's dangerous to be here. Don't touch the gate." It was Hardware yelling from the middle of the aisle at the entitled customer, who had decided they would try and sneak into the aisle from the other side to get what they were looking for. Again, their response was, "It's right here on the shelf. Just keep going, I'm not going to be in the way." It doesn't matter if I'm close to you or not. It's still dangerous, especially if the safety harness snaps and these pipes end up knocking this whole aisle on top of all of us. Or worse, causes all this heavy stuff to fall off. Now back up and don't try that again. Entitled customers back up for a bit, and Hardware goes back to moving the pipes around again. The entitled customers could barely wait a second before going for the gate again, and this time I yell for them to stop or get kicked out of the store. Again, they give me the same response about how they should be allowed to grab it. They're right there on the shelf. It shouldn't be a problem, and that they've done it many times before. And that if I have a problem with it, to just call the manager, since it was, supposedly, a manager who gave them permission to bypass the safety gates. Well, Hardware called, and Manager Jamie comes over to ask what the problem was. The entitled customers immediately started claiming that they should be allowed to grab their items that's right there. But me and Hardware wouldn't let them, and are being racist to them. Jamie pointed out that the gates are there for a reason, and the entitled customers are going to have to wait until Hardware was done moving the pipes around before they can open the gates. "The manager told us we can bypass the gates if the workers aren't near us." "Which manager gave you this okay?" "Why, the owner, of course, your boss. Duh, head of corporate." "Well, I wasn't informed that customers can bypass the gates. But I'm not going to let you go past this point. Please stay back until Hardware is done moving these pipes, because we don't want to have to call an ambulance due to a heavy metal pipe falling on your head." They just threw up their arms and yelled that we were being rude to them by not letting them get their items, before claiming they're never coming back to our store and storm out. They didn't keep their words and ended up returning the next day to buy whatever they were looking for. Maybe putty or something. 2. If I had $1 for every time I got mistaken for working in a store I was shopping at, or just wandering around in, I wouldn't ever have to worry about grocery prices again. I don't know exactly what it is about me that does it. I mean, I keep several of my keys on a carabiner that I hook in my pants, so I jangle when I walk. But that can't be the only thing that does it, because even when I don't have that, I get accosted by other shoppers. After we sorted the confusion out, I did once have an older woman say, "Well, you just look like you know what you're doing." Thank you? I think. I didn't have the heart to tell her I have never known what I was doing. But I guess my face makes me look far more competent than I am when I'm focused on trying to remember what I even came to the store for. All this to lead into, it just happened again while I was out getting groceries. But this time I was dressed in eye crime levels of clashing bright colors to try to ward off threats like a poisonous tree frog. I genuinely have no idea how anyone could see this and still think, finally a staff member. And yet, I was hunched over, looking at the refrigerated section, trying to do math in my head about whether or not I could actually get through a 30-pack of eggs on my own, when I heard shuffling and saw movement out of the corner of my eye. I turned and saw this random woman, oh so casually picking up things in my cart, and looking at it before setting it back down, and continuing to rummage like my future food was a bargain bin. Now, the last few years messed up a lot of people's ability to interact with other humans out in the wild, but really? You're just gonna do that? Hello? I said awkwardly, trying to get her attention while being completely baffled as to what this lady thought she was doing. She didn't stop to take her eyes away from my groceries as she answered, "Hello, don't mind me, I'm just looking." I stared at her for a couple of seconds. "Why are you looking through my cart, though?" I asked. She finally paused and glanced up, and the way her face fell made it seem like she was seeing me for the very first time. Oh my god, I'm so sorry. I thought you were putting things back on shelves. Oh my god." I actually felt bad for her with how mortified she looked, but seriously, how did we wind up in this situation? Though again, the past few years made everyone a lot weirder on average, so I reminded myself to cut her some slack. "I'm definitely not," I said. And she stumbled over more apologies while looking me up and down like she couldn't even understand why she thought I worked there. I extended her an olive branch by adding, "Did you need something? I can probably tell you where I found it." She said no and apologized again. But at least now we both knew neither of us was upset. She wished me a good night and wandered off down the nearest aisle and out of my line of sight. At least this time it wasn't a bad experience. Poor lady seemed nice. Just a lapse in something. And I got this weird, inconsequential story to tell out of the interaction. So there's that too. I hope she found whatever it was she was shopping for, and that this moment doesn't haunt her for the rest of her life. 3. I was heading to the break room to go on break. But as I was about to reach the break room, I noticed a pile of rugs laying on the ground, and I stepped around them to continue onto the break room. But I hear, "Hey, aren't you going to roll them up and put them back on the rack?" from behind me, so I turn around to see the manager, Eddie, and the rug associate standing there staring at me like I just spilled paint onto the floor. I'm confused and asking, what? "You shouldn't just leave the rugs laying on the ground. It's a tripping hazard, and someone can slip on it." I'm on break, and I have to get back in time or... "We focus on teamwork and you're ignoring the rugs on the floor, especially when we're busy putting in an online order." Before I can say anything, my supervisor happened to be walking by, and Eddie just let it go. So I quickly walked away to eat my lunch. A few days later, I again was walking by, and again saw some rugs laying on the ground, again. So I decided to roll them up and start trying to lift them onto the rack. But since these rugs are fairly long and uneven in my short arms, making it harder for me to fully lift it up onto the rack, it was difficult. I'm having a hard time breathing because it was heavy, and I'm starting to get exhausted. Then I see Eddie on my right and the rug associate on my left, so I try to adjust the rugs to better my grip, and hoping one of them would lend me a hand because teamwork, right? Nope. They clearly see me struggling and pretended not to notice me, before pretending to have been called away to take a call on their department phone. I eventually just gave up and dropped the still rolled rugs on the floor, but pushed up against the rack, out of the way so nobody would slip on it. After I finished my break and go back to my register, I'm called to Eddie's office and given a verbal warning, because I didn't put the rugs back properly and should have attempted to lend the rug associate a hand to put the rugs back on the rack. while ignoring me when I tell him I was struggling to put them back onto the rack and the darn things were too heavy for me to lift up. I'm glad I left not too long after this incident, after I found a job closer to my house, where my co-workers actually appreciate my hard work and don't give me stupid verbal warnings for dumb reasons. 4. I work at a corner dollar store and was working on a Friday that had been going pretty great. A customer came in asking to return some items. No problem. I'll get my manager to help. I take care of some other customers while I wait for my manager to arrive. Manager arrives and starts talking to the customer. I am still serving other customers, so I don't hear the conversation between manager and customer in exact detail. But from what I hear, manager takes a look at the receipt and is suspicious of it. Says the items being returned aren't on the receipt. Basically, we suspect this guy just grabbed some abandoned receipts and grabbed items off the shelf and is trying to get money for them as a refund. Essentially, he's trying to steal these items and get a refund for them. Customer immediately starts throwing out inane, unrelated facts loudly and angrily. Manager says she can't refund the items if they're not on the receipt. Customer immediately starts claiming we're mistreating him because of his race. Manager says of course that's not the case, and reiterates that we can't refund items that aren't on the receipt. The customer becomes very loud and very hostile, and my manager reluctantly just lets them leave with the items, not wanting to risk becoming physically hostile too. Despite getting what they wanted, they still stormed out shouting as if they were somehow the victim. I am left feeling so angry that people like this just get their way by being aggressive, yet somehow playing the victim. It makes me so mad. Well, Mr. Loudmouth Fake Refund Man, I hope you enjoy this shit you stole. Also hope you step in some Lego. 5. I've been in customer service for nearly a decade, and leadership and management for half of that. Lately, I've been getting so angry and emotional before I had to go to work, and couldn't figure out why. I knew that I deeply did not want to go, but it was just this gut feeling with no logical reason. I would spin in my mind, why don't you want to go? I don't know, but I can't go. Again and again, running the thought in circles. I used to enjoy my job and looked forward to going so I could chat with my co-workers and regulars. I enjoy helping people and would have fun doing so. Now I'm crying nearly every day, debating if I should call in before every shift, pleading with myself to not make me go. My mental state has spiraled so badly, and today it all finally clicked. I was at work, questioning why I've been so miserable lately, when the words, "I have no joy in my life," skipped across my mind. My own thought, yet it was so abrupt I had to backtrack, bringing my thoughts to work specifically. I asked myself, what happened to the fun I would have talking and connecting with customers? Well, the answer was pretty simple. The connections are gone. The conversations have ended. Almost all my interactions are met with impatience and anger. It used to just be the old cranky biddies that you would have to watch out for, the "why won't you accept my expired coupon" type. Now it's nearly everyone, young or old, poor or rich. There's no discrimination. I will be working on something and look up, and someone I've had no interaction with is glaring at me. I'll greet people and get a look of disgust in response. "How are you?" is completely ignored. Conversation starters are met with blank stares. People don't ask for help anymore, they demand it, and it's never good enough. And that's just the average customers. The amount of abuse I have had to endure and the severity of it is truly incredible. I've been punched, pushed, grabbed, groped, and spat on. I've been sexually harassed, followed, verbally abused, screamed at, and threatened. I could continue on, but this is already too long of a post. It has gotten to the point that when I have had to deal with an angry customer or approach a non-customer, aka shoplifter, my hands start shaking and my mind races with ways to defend myself. I'm a fairly small woman. I'm constantly in a state of hyper-awareness, watching people's body language and how they move their hands, trying to assess if they want to beat me or just berate me. I have to shove my hands in my pockets to hide the shaking and carefully pace my words so my voice doesn't waver. I've been told I come across as calm and confident, but I'm always just on the verge of losing it. It didn't used to be like this. Just today I realized this is quite literally a trauma response. It is absolutely insane that things have gotten to this point. I should not be traumatized by this type of work. I didn't choose to fight a war. I didn't choose to be a first responder. I didn't choose to work in an ER. I didn't choose a high-risk occupation. I sell groceries, for fuck's sake. There is no reason for that to cause trauma. There are no protections for retail employees. There are no repercussions for customers' bad behavior. There is no recourse for having to endure it. There are no resources for how to cope with this never-ending shit. This is just one more thing I'll need therapy for, the therapy I can't afford because I'm underpaid. I swear if I ever have kids, I will never allow them to work retail. It's too dangerous. It may not be run into a burning building type of dangerous, but this job will chew you up, spit you out, and leave you in a crumpled heap, questioning your will to live. My view of humanity has been shattered. I will never trust the public. I will never have faith in our society. I think there is something fundamentally broken in the human psyche that makes our spaces so cruel. You know that the people who abused and assaulted me never thought twice about it, never lost sleep over it. In fact, they probably thought they won, and I am left with lifelong trauma. There is only so much of being treated like a disposable human one can take before it breaks you. And here I am, broken. I'm getting out of this career as soon as I'm financially able. I'm stepping down from my management position to pursue a college degree, then a career in STEM. Hey everybody, Hellfreezer here, and thank you very much for listening to Adventures in Fast Food and Retail, episode 174. And thank you very much to everybody who allowed me to use and sent in stories for use in this video. If you liked the video, pop a like. Also, if you'd like to support the channel and get the videos a little bit earlier, you can do so through Patreon, for as little or as much as you like on a monthly basis. If you don't want to do that, there's also Hellfreezer merchandise. Both of these are linked in the description, my Teespring store, and you can make one-off donations during streams or videos like this one. This is not required, but it is appreciated. Alrighty, let's see. Oh yes, a comment on the last story there. I really sympathize with what that person is going through, because retail broke me. There's no gentle way to put it. It broke me. It was the customers, it was poor management, it was so many things. And you've heard me mention this before, it just literally took me years to recover from it. For the most part. Maybe I'll never fully recover from it, but I at least feel like a reasonably balanced, fairly functional human being for the most part. Not that I don't have little moments of when stress gets me down, of course I do. But you know, I at least don't, I'm not prone to sudden bursts of anger whenever I think about the place I used to work at. I don't think of it fondly, there's nothing about it I think of fondly. But time and awareness healed. I should probably have actually, I really should have seen a therapist about it, but at this point I'm good. It might have been a quicker journey if I'd actually had the wherewithal to do the thing that I recommend to a lot of people, which is you need help, get help. Anyway. I don't recommend working in retail. It was bad then, it's worse now. Unless you really enjoy it and you're fortunate enough to work in an amazing place with great coworkers and good customers, then great. It seems fewer and fewer these days. But that's enough of me grumbling about the aches of the past. So let's move right along to Hellfreezer's question of the day. And today's question is, name a discontinued product you really used to enjoy that you wish they'd bring back. Quite a few in my case, but one thing I do remember was, you remember how boil in the bag used to be really popular? I don't think it is as much these days, but it used to be really popular. And one of my local frozen food stores, we have frozen food stores, apparently not everyone does, but that's the thing here. They used to do a twin pack of tagliatelle carbonara. I probably butchered the pronunciation. I always get self-conscious saying, is it tagliatelle, blah, 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 tag on the telly. I always get self-conscious pronouncing that. I could look it up, but it's an outro. I'm relaxing now. And it was very yummy, is what I remember. And you could boil it in a bag, or it cooked really well in the microwave. But they don't do it anymore. Not even single packs. Or if they do, it's not the same product. And I miss it. Like I say, it was yummy. It was good to have on its own. I could also have it with chips as well if I was feeling fancy, because I'm a fancy fellow. Yes, pouring things on top of chips. You gotta be really sophisticated to do that. Is anyone buying that? No? Okay. Well, then I'll just wrap up for now. So leave me some of your products that you miss in a comment below. And with that, I'm gonna head off for now. So until next time, thank you very much for listening, and take very good care of yourselves.